because I was so in survival mode that I don't know if I could have done that.
Mhm.
But then he went to jail and he was sentenced to jail for what he did to us and mostly what he did to me. And here I was with two little children at that time, 8 and 4, and no money from him because he was incarcerated and had a little bit of help from the shelters that you get into with your children. But that was it.
The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their sole purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Wake Up Your Soul. Today's guest is Jennifer Perri. She's a reinvention strategist, and her story is so many different pieces that I think everybody will have something they can relate to. And I'm very excited because I know we're going to talk a little bit about things that are in alignment with a lot of the stuff that I talk about as well. So let's welcome Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm great.
I'm excited. I don't even know where we begin, but I think we begin with just your life journey because we were talking about it beforehand, how it's just kind of a God thing where I trust and you trust as well that the episode will go where it needs to go and the pieces that need to come out are going to come out. And I feel like we need to go all the way back to, even though you reached out to me about getting is that how you say it? Guillain-Barré?
Guillain-Barré.
Guillain-Barré, however you wanna say it, syndrome from the COVID vaccine. So we are gonna go in that direction at some point. But I think there's a lot of other pieces to your story because we're gonna also talk about domestic violence, and I think childhood always plays into how we end up there. I know for myself, I was in a very verbally abusive relationship at one point, and I definitely think the person I was prior to that relationship helped me land in that relationship. And so I want to talk about that childhood. I mean, what would you say about your childhood? Completely normal, completely fabulous, or were there pieces of it that you think put you where you ended up?
I grew up in a really small town outside of Philadelphia called Eddystone, Pennsylvania, and
Okay.
had a great childhood up until I think really my junior year of high school. I noticed that my mom just worked a lot. She was always working, and my dad was working, but seemed to be around the house a lot more than my mom was. So I think as I got a little bit older, because you figure in 11th grade, 12th grade, you're paying attention to your life. You're not really paying attention to what's going on at home. But there was just a lot of, I guess, strange things going on with my parents and their relationship. So my senior year of high school, my parents divorced. Come to find out, my dad was a gambler and stole money and did this. And my mom was just trying to keep it all under wraps. And she was taking on so much responsibility. My dad wasn't physically abusive, but he was definitely verbally abusive. And then that weighed on my mom heavily. So she decided to divorce my dad my senior year of high school. And that kind of broke the protective bubble, I think, that I lived in because I didn't have any horrible memories, and I just had good memories growing up, but then as I got older, I started to realize as I was entering in relationships with guys at school and things, I started paying more attention to what was going on at home and saw how much my mom was really struggling. So, my parents divorced my senior year of high school. My dad kinda lost it a little bit, went off the rails, and It just turned out not to be really good. But, down the line, my mom did meet somebody else who's been my stepdad for 36 years, who's an amazing man. But during that period of time, I felt like, okay, I'm going to step out in faith and find somebody and meet someone. And I met somebody who was, I thought, wonderful. And he was kind of like the bad boy. And I graduated in 89. So it was like bad boys were the end thing. Little did I know that it was going to strip me of everything of who I was going into that marriage.
Do you think you were a little bit rebellious
Oh,
yourself?
absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
yeah, they say we are drawn to the parts that we have ourselves, right? So if
Mhm.
we have that rebellious piece within us, we are just going to be drawn to somebody else that is that as well, and they're gonna kind of fill that void.
I agree. And I think there was also when you live in such a, not that my life was perfect, but you could ride your bike past dark, you could leave your doors unlocked, you didn't hear about kids getting abducted and people hurting each other. And I lived in this kind of like, I felt like a very protective bubble. And I think you're right. There was a little bit of me saying, "How dare you all uproot my apple cart my senior year of high school? I'm going to show you." And I got involved with somebody who almost took my life on multiple occasions. But even that was I hadn't had experience to physical violence in my home.
Mhm.
Definitely, I heard a lot of it and the way that my dad talked to my mom, but I didn't experience the physical part. And when it happened the first time, my first husband was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again." And I forgave him, right? I forgave him.
Yep.
And that just turned into a decade of my life that, again, the fact that I'm here is amazing. My first marriage should have been a Lifetime movie.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that a time or two for sure. Yeah, people talk, and I've talked about this before, but people talk about how resilient children are, and I don't know that I buy into that. I'll be honest. I think that kids are confused and they don't even know how to process what they're processing, right? The things that we're taking in and the things that you were witnessing and taking in, you didn't even understand it. It was like you can't even put it into words. And people take children's silence as resiliency. And I feel like that needs to stop. I think there's too much of, "Oh, kids are resilient. We can push them to the limits with this and that and whatever." And it's like, "No, we cannot." Their nervous systems are just in overdrive constantly. And I was listening to something this morning talking about we wonder why kids are so lazy later in life now, why we have these 20, 30-year-olds that are lazy. And maybe it's because from birth, they have just been fighting their way through life and they're just exhausted and just done. And it's an interesting thing, I think, to think about, but so you were in this relationship, how did you end up getting out of it and having this self-awareness that I deserve better?
Well, it got to a point where that marriage produced 2 children. My 8-year-old, he was 8 year olds at the time, and a 4-year-old, my 2 sons. I have 3 sons. And my first husband started to take it out on my oldest. And then here I am watching what he would do to me. Now he started putting his hands on my 8-year-old, and I would look at my 4-year-old and see how terrified they were. And I thought for the longest time I was protecting them and I was keeping them safe and doing all those things. But you're right, they pick up on every single thing. And now they're 35 and 32 and they're still struggling. Not they're wonderful human beings, but my oldest son still struggles. And there's a cycle of violence that came back a little bit in his life too, which we had to get a handle on. Because when you think you can kind of protect them, like to what you're saying, the stuff that they're taking in, absorbing, they were absorbing way more than I thought. And the way it ended for us was I had gotten a restraining order against him. Long story made short, without getting into a lot of really nasty areas, I got a restraining order against him and he was no longer allowed to live in our home, but his mother lived across the street, which was essentially almost exactly how far he had to stay away from our house. And he was standing in the middle of the road, threatening to kill me, threatening to kill my kids. Like, I get really peed off when everybody says, "Well, why didn't you just leave?" Why was with this person for almost 10 years who threatened to kill my children, his children, my parents, anybody that mattered to me. Why? So you want me to leave that? So anyway, it ended by him going to jail and then me going into the emergency room for what he did to me. And that's how it ended. Do I think, do I think I would have ever walked out of it? I don't know. I don't know if I would have been able to pull myself up by the bootstraps because I was so in survival mode that I don't know if I could have done that.
Yeah.
But then he went to jail and he was sentenced to jail for what he did to us and mostly what he did to me. And here I was with two little children at that time, 8 and 4, and no money from him because he was incarcerated and had a little bit of help from the shelters that you get into with your children. But that was it. I
Yeah.
mean, this was, my gosh, 20 some years ago. And there wasn't a lot of talk, at least in my world that I remember, about finding help.
Yeah.
It seems like it's gotten more visible as more women have come forward and other women have advocated for it to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would have been able, had that not happened,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to leave without him killing me. For
Yeah.
sure.
That's horrible. But it sounds like a light bulb started to go off though when you were witnessing the kids being abused or your oldest being abused and the little one looking at it. And it's funny because I think about, and I mean, funny, not funny, I guess, but like I think about it a lot, how much I will allow myself to go through.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if it happens to my kid, then it's like,
Yeah.
oh hell no. You
If
know?
the whole mama bear will rip every limb off of you kind of thing. I would have never left. For me, it wasn't about me. I look back over my kids' lives, and sometimes we talk about it. I couldn't afford very much when it was just the 3 of us. Dollar stores became our holidays, and to this day, they still find such joy or there's like a comfortable going into dollar stores because it was what they love them. You know what I mean? 'Cause that was what I could have. So even in the middle of all that nastiness, I was trying to find little highlights for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you mess with me, I'll take it all, but you touch one of my children.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. There's a mug shot coming after that one. Yeah.
But it's like, that's also where, like, we need to figure this out, you know? We need to do better for ourselves, because if we're not doing better for ourselves, then what are we really doing for our children,
Mhm.
right? Because like we're talking about, they're watching all of this. And so it is really important that, we think that they are not living what we're living, but they are. They are. They're still living it, right? So even though you're thinking like, it's okay, it's just me that's being abused, they're not like I'm protecting them. I mean, obviously, eventually your child was, but it's like we think like it's okay, it's just me. Like I
Right.
can handle this. And it's like, but they are going through it too. And if you're pushing to survive and handle it, so are they.
Exactly right.
And
And
that's
my oldest son mentioned to me once before, looking back, because he was 8, and I remember he was in school, and I remember getting called to the principal's office that he was chasing around a little girl on the playground, and he was just drilling her, like pulling her hair and slapping her and doing all these things, and when I went into the office, I didn't understand why.
yeah,
And he's like, "Well, I like her." And I said, "Well, this isn't how
yeah.
you show somebody you like them." And he's like, "Well, this is how daddy did, this is how daddy treated you." In
Mhm.
his mind, that aggression was love, or
Yeah.
this is how you show somebody that you like them. And years later, obviously, he said to me, "Mom, I feel like you were protecting me. I didn't know how to protect you." And he was 8. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that stuff
Yeah.
carries much further than you think.
It does, and I've heard that story too before where so many people, they have grown up to be in that same place as your son was, wanting to protect their mother and how that changes who they are as a
Mhm.
person. But and as much as all of this sounds terrible, we also have to trust in the process and trust that it gets us to where we need to go, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it helps and shapes us to who we are meant to be and how we are meant to help this world. And so y you have to find a way to have some sort of gratitude for the experience as much as we can hate certain experiences, right? But
Right, right.
can have such a dislike, but also such an appreciation for, "I got out of it, I figured it out, and here's what I learned, and these things that I learned were so amazing," and same for my kids.
Mhm.
But it is important that you share your story so that other people don't have to walk the same steps that you did. It really is very important. I mean, I feel like that's the whole point sometimes in our difficult journeys is it's for other people. It's not just for us.
Oh, it absolutely is for other people. And I think I was sharing with you before we even started was I used to do a ton of seminars because that coming out of that marriage and having to figure out what I had to do for myself, for my children, I had no relationship with money. My ex-husband had controlled all of it. So that's where I had to start. I mean, I always like to say, I am a Ramsey Solution Master Financial Coach. So I've done stuff with Dave Ramsey, but I always say I made envelopes cool before Dave even talked about it because I had to put money aside so I had it when I was trying to take care of my kids, you know? So I started off in that relationship with money and became, went into financial consulting and did about 50 to 60 seminars a year, all talking to women, all talking about being financially fearless and understanding what you needed to do. And I didn't talk a lot about my domestic violence past because I didn't want somebody to look at me and say, well, this is a broken woman that I may entrust my money with. But there was a woman that I saw enter the back of the seminar, and I kinda knew she didn't wanna be there.
Mm.
She looked like she didn't wanna be there, but she came in with a girlfriend because I only did them for women. Because
You're
I
like,
figured,
"Who
you know
made you
what?
come?"
Yeah, who made you come? Wait a minute, it was a free meal, so maybe that's why you came. So there was something about her that just kinda hit me, and, I mean, I'm a believer, and I know that God is the one that literally moves everything in my life, and I knew that everything I was talking about, I needed to relate to her on a certain way. And I, for the first time, had shared my relationship and what got me into understanding my need to have a relationship with money. And it was talking about my abuser. It was talking about things. And I knew that was what she was going to because she stopped fiddling with her hands and writing on paper and she just started to look at me and kind of slowly pick up her head a little bit more. About 20 minutes into that conversation, she got up and she walked out. And I thought, well, you lost her. Whatever you said irritated her. And then I saw her friend get up and go out. So at the end of the seminar, I always had people coming up, wanted to book appointments and stuff. And I'm standing there with a group of women talking. And this woman just came right down the middle, right through everybody else, and just hugged me, sobbing.
Oh,
She had come there that night. She had dropped her children off at her mother. She had come there that night with her friend, her best friend, because she knew that was gonna be the last time she was gonna see her friend, because she was gonna leave from there and she was gonna take her own life. And I was like, "Poof." I'm lucky I can get through it without, like, sobbing, but
yeah,
because of that, I knew that, you know what? This is just a small piece of my story that had she not have heard that night, would she have actually gone through with it?
yeah,
So I believe every piece of your story needs to be visible
mm,
because we live in this highlight real world
yeah,
and you have to see the messy middle. You have to see what builds people into who they are.
mm,
So that I just wanted to add that because it is important for people to what you have going on in your life, you need to share every piece of it.
mhm.
You don't have to put all your personal life out there, but your struggles, if you're somebody who is in this to help other people, you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, and for me, I've had people tell me I need to share more of my hard stuff because I have kept that kind of off of social media because I have felt like the whole purpose of the podcast and the whole purpose of things that I share is to help people. It's obviously called Wake Up Your Soul, but it's to have you wake up and have a new reality and a new perspective because so many people are struggling in this world because of some misbelief that they have, essentially. And I'm trying to help people realize that things aren't maybe as they seem and that we are in complete control and we can make changes, right? But then when I start to struggle with my health, I'm like, I can't share this. I'm somebody that talks about taking control and I've gained control, but like it's reality. I do great for the most part. Like if you knew my whole story and you saw me today, then it's like I think you wouldn't question it. I mean, I was in a wheelchair years ago just to like do long distances. I could not walk. My health was so bad. So even though it slips now, and I think it's sometimes for various reasons, but stress is probably a lot of it, but it's self-induced, but it's taken on for good purpose, you know? I want the stress sometimes because I want to do more with my life and help other people, but sometimes I hide those things because I think, well, then it looks like I don't have it together if my
Right?
health if my health isn't good today, you know?
You're exactly
So
right.
it's like here I am, like, get your life together, make it the most, that it will ever be. And then I'm like, but here's my life. It looks like shit today.
Yeah.
But I need to share more of the reality of things. I do want to ask before we move into the vaccine. I do want to ask, what do you think is the number one reason that women stay in a domestic abuse situation? Is it the fear of finances or fear of being killed? I mean, what do you think it is?
I think, well, for me, it was I think it was multiple things at play for me. When I first got involved with this person, I had people say to me, "You need to you need to run. Like, he's bad news.
Mhm.
He's just," and for me, I couldn't see it at that point that he was bad news. I also always had this kind of broken wing syndrome, my mom called it, like, "I'm gonna fix you." Like, "Something's wrong with you, I'm gonna be the one that fixes you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the one that fixes whatever everybody else is saying is wrong with you." So I
same.
think there was some of that, but I also think too, once you're in it and you've had all those people saying to you, including your mother, "Don't go down that path," now you're in it. And not only are you in it, you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And this person has stripped this apart every opportunity for you to get a job, to spend time with your family. I was months and months and months pregnant before I was even allowed to interact with my mother again. And that was only because she worked at the hospital where I was having my son. That was the
Mhm.
only way that I could see her. So it got, for me, it was your chaos was comfort. I knew what to expect in that area. I didn't know what I could expect when I left. Would he kill our kids? Would he kill my mother? Would he do those things? Would he kill me? So I think it was kind of multifaceted for me.
Maybe a little sacrificial, like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
sacrifice my happiness if it means safety for my mother, safety for my kids, safety yeah.
yeah. But now if I see, and I've seen it a couple times where I was at a gas station and I was kind of right up against somebody else who was pumping gas, and he just backhanded the girl sitting next to him in the seat of his truck, and I just got right out of my car and I just headed. I didn't care if this guy was like 6'5" and all. I just now have become so vigilant on, if I see that, like, I don't even play. I've asked waitresses that I've seen bruises on their face. It has become so, "Listen, we're gonna have a conversation even if it's uncomfortable because I see you. I was you, I see you."
Mhm.
So that little bit of all that he did to me, I think some of that fire comes out now, and I'll be damned if it's gonna happen to anybody else in my presence, kind of feel.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask because I feel like I know people that have been in that situation where they witness somebody and they're questioning it. And then it's a conversation behind their back with, yeah, she's got some bruises. I don't know. How do you approach somebody that has what you think are questionable bruises? How do you gently ask them, are you okay?
Well, the most recent time it happened, we were at dinner, and I'm happily remarried, and we were at dinner, and I said to my husband, the girl went to put her plate down, and you could see finger marks. Like, there was
Mhm.
no question, you could see them. And I just put it down, and she was very happy, bubbly, very sweet. She wasn't like victim or anything. And I said to my husband, I said, "Oh, I have to go to the restroom." And she was standing there at the cash register. I said, "Honey, are you okay?" And you could just see it in her face. Like, her eyes kind of welled up with tears a little bit. And I said, "I've been there. Are you okay? Do you need me to call someone? Do you need me to," she's like, "I'm trying to get out." And I was like, "Okay, well, trying, that's good, but you need to," so I gave her the 800 number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. I gave her my phone number. I'm like, "If there's anything that I can do." If you come at them in a comfortable, loving way and maybe not call them out on the spot, I would have never said something to her in front of my husband because he's a man, right? So, and she's having this relationship with a person who is abusing her, she's not gonna be vocal in front of another man to say something's wrong.
Mhm.
But I think it's just about being that one person that says, "Are you okay?" And if anybody asked me during that period of time if I was okay, I would immediately lose it. So you can sense it in other people. But I think just trying to find out if they're all right, talking to a manager, talking to somebody else, they do have the hand signs that you see people doing and that let you know if that making people aware of it. I have seen more doctors' offices, and if I don't see it, I do talk to the doctor when I go there about having it in the women's room, having a designated women's room where they can write on they use different colored pens on urine samples and all that stuff if they're in a domestic situation, having a password, having some type of something. So I try to advocate everywhere that I go. Not pushy, but just, "Hey, you need to be more aware of, you have women that are in here that need somebody or need help."
Yeah, I've seen those signs in the bathroom occasionally, but definitely not enough. And it's more like, here's a phone number if you're a
Right.
victim. But what if they don't have a phone or yeah, I mean, we need other ways for them to
Most impressive one I was ever at, I was at it was a doctor's office, and it wasn't even an OB-GYN, it was a doctor's office, and they had a men's room and doing it in a unisex bathroom is harder, but there was a women's room, and it said, "If you are in a situation that you do not feel safe, please write your name on your sample in a red pen." As opposed to use the blue pen. And I went up there when I checked out. I said, "I'm just really impressed. I don't know who put this in place. I'm really impressed." I said, "Could you tell me what happens after that?" And they said that if somebody does that, they keep the person in one of the back rooms and they call the police. And that person does not leave from that place without feeling protected and safe. So I thought that was the most powerful thing I ever saw. And now anytime I go someplace, I will bring it up, that if it's a doctor or something, I'm like, what is your policy for that? So
yeah, I think a discreet way of doing it is what is needed the most because they're scared shitless, right? And so
yeah.
it's like they need to feel like, okay, if I speak out, I'm going to be okay. And this person's not going to find out. And so that obviously is a pretty discreet way to do it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Great. Jennifer, let's dive into what was it, 21?
The end of 2021. Yep.
Okay. The end of 2021. Good old COVID times. They are not behind us, guys. I mean, they are resurfacing with the what is it called now? The hantavirus?
Hantavirus. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, Lord help us here. We are
Yeah.
just we are a mess in this world. But anywho, okay. So 2021. What made you decide to get the COVID vaccine? I mean, was it fear? A lot. I think that was for a lot of people. That's what it was.
Well, I've always been my own boss. So it wasn't because I had to have my boss said I had to do it. At first, I wasn't gonna get one. I wasn't really a candidate for it. I'm overweight. There's a couple things. So you're supposed to get it if you have all these like other underlying conditions. So if you're overweight, have asthma, all that, oh, for sure you need to have it, you need to have it. But when I was talking to my cardiologist and my allergist, they're like, "Hey, listen, we don't know enough about what's going on yet. You're not traveling anywhere. You're staying home." And my husband and I were home. Like we didn't go. We were those people who were spraying like the bags of like coming from your groceries. We were those people that were wiping them with like the bleach wipes and all that kind of stuff. We were those
Well,
people.
let me just say how crazy it is, how that was such a common line though of
Yeah.
like, "We don't know what's going on with the
Yeah.
virus, we don't know how dangerous it is, blah, 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 but we know how safe this vaccine is?"
Yeah.
Like, I
So,
don't think so.
no.
You could
Yeah. No.
don't have enough scientific information to tell us how dangerous the virus is, but yet you have enough scientific evidence to tell us how safe this vaccine is, like, just make it make sense. But anyway, okay, carry on.
Well, and then, so I was fast forward probably like 3 or 4 months after the first vaccine conversation started to happen. And my husband got the vaccine. And because he's not his own boss. He works and had to travel a little bit here and there. And they were still requiring some of that. So he was like, "Hey, listen, I want to be protected. Should I go someplace and I come home that I don't bring something home to my wife?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's fine." He had no reaction to it, a little bit in his arm was sore, and we did all the research, and they said Pfizer was the safest way to go. So he got it, and then I think about a month passed, and I went to my cardiologist and I said, "Hey, where are we at now on this?" And he says, everybody's done a lot of research now, and it seems like going in the way of Pfizer is the safest." And I think it's probably good at this point for you to go because then, we were getting every day you were turning on hundreds of thousands more people seemed like they were dying and all this other kind of stuff. So I got it because I did have the underlying issues and I wanted to make sure that if people that were asthmatic that were getting the actual COVID itself or having a harder time with their lungs and everything else. So I got it. I got the first one and then I waited my 3 weeks and I literally felt like I didn't have anything. I felt like maybe I got a placebo or something because I had 0 reaction. And then on my second one, I had just a tiny little bit of discomfort. Probably about 2 days later, I just sat and, you start not feeling right. Like, I don't know, I just felt a little swimmy in the head and let that go. And then probably 3 weeks after that, there was just something that was totally, totally off. And I didn't pay much attention to it. So fast forward to it was December the 20th, 2021, and we're getting ready for Christmas. And I woke up one day and I was like, "You know what?" I said to my husband, "Maybe I slept funny because my like, it was kinda like I was I felt numb in the waist, which
Mhm.
was really weird. So I thought maybe I pinched a nerve or something, went to my chiropractor. She was like, "Hey, let's get on this table. We're gonna stretch you out," and all that kind of stuff. Did that, felt a little bit better. 2 days later, I couldn't put my foot up onto the curb. And my husband was like, "Hey, we're gonna go back and we're gonna go see your chiropractor again and all." And she was the first one that said it. She's like, "Listen, this is presenting like something called GBS."
Mhm.
It was kinda starting in the saddle, and she was like, "I don't really know. Well, we're coming into Christmas. You need to probably take her to the ER, just get her checked out." And I was like, "I don't I'll go to the ER, but I am not gonna be anywhere for Christmas." So I got into the ER on the 22nd, was admitted into intensive care on the 23rd, transported from a hospital in the mountains where they diagnosed me with Guillain-Barré, and it was a God thing because it was a mountain hospital. We were living in the mountains at the time. But the ER, the doctor who was in the ER that night had had GBS 8 years prior. And within 3 hours of diagnosis, she was on a ventilator fighting for her life because it just slowly paralyzes everything.
Yeah.
So they told me that I was certainly going to be there for Christmas and that I may not even be in the state of Georgia. They were going to air vac me anywhere in the country that had the 5-day treatment that I needed. Thank God they had it in Atlanta and I got transported into Atlanta. And I think by Christmas Day, I was completely paralyzed
Oh my
from
god.
the head all the way down to my toes. It almost took away my ability to breathe, but right when that was happening and they were getting ready to transfer me back to ICU, the 5th day of my IVIG treatment kicked in.
Mhm.
And plus my parents and our friends and everybody else were face down in prayer that that wasn't gonna happen. And yeah, so I was paralyzed by the December 28th. It was even in my face. I had Bell's palsy in my face. I couldn't close my eyes. It was intense. And we had no idea what it was, had never heard of Guillain-Barré for the longest time. I called it Guillain-Barré, 'cause I didn't even know what it was, but we learned about it, overnight pretty quickly, and I had all these specialists on TVs that were rolled into around my hospital bed that were in different parts of the country that were talking about treatment, expectations, all that stuff, and they didn't think I would walk for at least a year and a half, 2 years if I would ever walk again.
Mhm.
So you talk about your life changing overnight.
Yeah.
So I was in the hospital for a month and then came home. I just turned 50 and had to relearn how to do it all. Walk, write, like everything, all of
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
Did doctors acknowledge that this was probably a side effect from the vaccine?
Not at the beginning
Okay.
because I believe that at that time we were finding out that doctors and hospitals probably were getting kickbacks on people that were dying if they were dying from the cause of that. So it was a very hush hush kind of deal. Actually, who turned me on to this is probably exactly what it was related to was the CDC themselves. Because the funny thing is they didn't tell me at the hospital, but they were like, listen, going forward, you can never, ever have another COVID vaccine, any other vaccine, can't do flu, can't do shingles, can't do like none. You
Yeah.
cannot have any like that. But where we had gotten our shots, we had to follow, like you did this thing with the CDC where they just checked in on you. So between the last time they had checked in on me, they're like, "Has anything happened?"
'Cause
I'm
you
like,
were part of the study.
yeah. I'm like, "Well, hey, guess what?" My husband replied, "Yes, my wife is paralyzed currently in the hospital with Guillain-Barré and blah, blah, blah." Day later, I got a call from the CDC, and the person I spoke to was very helpful. I mean, extremely helpful. They're like, "Hey, listen, we're 99.9% sure this is an adverse reaction. It's definitely an adverse reaction tied to majority of all the vaccines." My neurologist did eventually tell me when I was no longer in the hospital, and we found it like 300 pages into my medical records from that period of time that it was an adverse reaction to yeah, to my COVID vaccine.
Ah,
So, and then literally was like, "Yep, that's what happened. Here, you can go over here and file for the vaccine compensation fund. Like, here you go. You'll need all this documentation," which, they tell you to do that, but you can't well, you gotta get a dollar, you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like, it's just because you willingly went in there and you signed and said, I understand all these things."
yeah.
So,
I know,
it
and I mean,
Yeah.
Usually a side effect listed is also death. So it's
Yeah, right. So,
I
you could have nothing or you could die,
yeah.
you know, but
Like,
it
what did
was
I not agree to when I signed this?
yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
again, I am one of those people, and I've gotten even into debates with I have a very large social presence, and I've gotten into debates with people who are like, "I can't believe you're upset about what happened to you." I'm like, "Well, it wasn't a walk in the park, but obviously my life has been predetermined on what I'm gonna face, right?" And when I was in the hospital, I had so many people reaching out to me, and I started getting all these things sent, flowers, gifts, all that. And then the theme was I got probably 10 things that said, "You were assigned these mountains to show others they could be moved."
Mm.
And I thought, "That's right." So that what if, why me turned into what now?
Yeah.
How can I take this? So we talk about the highlight reel of our lives, and I opened up my Instagram, and I'm like, "Hi, y'all, like, here I am, no
Yeah.
makeup. My hair has only been washed by one of those caps in the hospital. I'm wearing a Depends, no bra, and I'm sitting in a wheelchair. Welcome to my world." So, we're gonna sort this all out together, and the people that gravitated towards that and were just so invested in my healing was
Mhm.
just moving.
Mhm.
And there were so many people I was able to inspire from a wheelchair
Mhm.
that I thought, you know what? If all I can do is get out of here and my mind's intact and I'm confined to this for the rest of my life, I know, God, you're going to use me somehow.
Mhm.
And even if it's just to be there for someone,
Yeah.
so I didn't look at it. I didn't look at it like, oh, what happened to me? Why me?
Why were you saying, though, that people were telling you that you like, "Why are you mad about this?" Or, "Why aren't you mad about this?" What were you saying?
Well, so I post my recovery a lot. Like May is Guillain-Barré and CIDP Awareness Month. So I always talk about my journey because I want other people to be encouraged by it. Because a lot of people live in the diagnosis and I don't want people to do that. So I had posted it and somebody sent a note, literally started it with, "Was it from the jab?" That was her comment. And I responded, yes, it was caused from an adverse reaction to that, but I turned it right back around on making it about my journey and where I'm at and my recovery and na na na. And she just wanted to keep going down this. How can you not be mad? How can you be like telling me how I should feel about something that affected my life, not hers? And I'm like, you know what? I willingly stepped into doing this. I didn't have to. I did it. I knew that there were things that were gonna happen, like you said, to get nothing to death, I did it, I made that choice, and so you live with the outcomes of that, but it was like people want me to be upset with the government and with all that. Where is that gonna get me? It wasn't gonna get me anywhere in my recovery at all. I'm a mindset coach. My mindset is what got me my mindset, my husband, my kids, prayer, that's what got me through it.
Yeah, it's almost like they want you to be like, "Let's attack pharma," but that completely shifts the focus of your work. And what good is that? I mean, I think we all know there's some corruption there. I shouldn't say we all know, but, a lot of us are aware that
Yeah.
it's about the dollar at the end of the day. It's a business. People talk about this all the time, but they don't get paid when you are well, right? You're not taking the prescriptions and the things, and so their focus is not on getting you well, it's, just keeping you at a baseline and in need of their products. So I completely get that, but then, yeah, the people like that, though, they're the ones that probably need you the most, you know? That
Well, and I ultimately told the woman, like, I was born and raised near Philadelphia, man. I'm very direct, and I know I'm very good at articulating how I feel. But I also know that
okay,
when
but,
something
so my husband is from, like, Bucks County in Pennsylvania.
yeah,
He is not super direct, though. Is he too
really?
far? Is he too far from
Maybe he's too far away from Philly, I don't know. But I've just always been and then I moved to the South, and I'm, where it's like, "Bless your heart, take your time," and I'm like, "Listen, that's" so I tried to adjust myself to that, but as soon as I went back to the Philly, like, everybody was more happy with that. But it's almost like in this person, I saw that there was a lot of hurt, like, you could tell there was a lot of hurt, and it was almost like she was hurt she was so upset for me that she wanted me to be as upset as she was
Mhm.
about what had happened to me, and I'm thinking, "Girl, I've been through every emotion possible." Like, I literally and you talk about full circle too, I had a playlist and everything on my playlist was like, "Rise Up," "I Hope You Dance," "If You Can Only Imagine," like all the ones that talked about using your legs. Because 'Cause
Yep.
I'm like, "Listen, right now I don't even know where they're at." They're like I use them, but I'm gonna visualize myself doing all these things. So every night I played that playlist and I prayed and I saw myself walking and doing things with my husband and all that. Full circle moment, I met Lisa Nichols has been a huge part of my life from The Secret all the way through to what she does, and I met her, and we went on her show, and then she released that she was gonna do a book, and the name of the book was Rise Up,
Mm.
and I said to her, I'm like, "My gosh," I said, "Do you realize how much, like, 4 years ago, my life was just completely in shambles, and I was praying that I had the right to rise up."
Mhm.
And now I do, and here's my story around it. So, it's you talk about full circle moments, and you talk about people looking at it in different through different eyes, but yeah, it's I could spend my entire life being upset and bitter and miserable about everything that has happened in my journey. I could, but it's a choice. Why would I be bitter? I'm just gonna continue to make my life better
Yeah.
and continue to be here, and I shouldn't be here. There's multiple reasons why I shouldn't be here. So, obviously, God's not done using me for what I'm meant to be used for.
I almost have to wonder if people like that haven't experienced the bliss of life because I think
Mhm.
you'll relate to this where I've been there too, where I'm fighting for my life. So you probably have not gone and listened to all my stories, but I have a pacemaker still, but I actually had the wire come loose. It went through my heart into my lung, and that was a whole experience. But even prior to that, the reason I ended up with a pacemaker is because I was dying. My heart would completely stop, no electrical signal, completely flatlined, dead. And so but I have experienced bliss and good parts of life, right? So it's like if you throw somebody down into the lion's den and they feel like they have something to live for, they are going to claw and scratch their way out of it, right? And so for you, when you were down, you knew you had something to live for. And
Right.
if you sat there in thinking, how shitty this is, and oh my God, I can't believe I got that vaccine, and I can't believe they're letting other people get this, and angry, what does anger do? There is no solution, right? Like anger does not provide a solution at all. I mean, it obviously can be the catalyst to making you want a solution, right? But if you just sit in that emotion and you just sit in that, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to stay down. And so I think for those of us that have been put in true survival mode, we really get it and we feel it. We understand that we have to just we can't focus on that. We can talk about like it stinks. It was a bummer, but here we are and here's what I got to do to get out of it. And that's the only way you can think about it when you're down in that hole is okay, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? I mean, I feel like that's where my brain always goes. So recently I've been dealing with I had a colonoscopy and I had a large polyp compared to the last one. Last one was precancerous, so was this one, but my doctor seemed very concerned after and expressed that and even spoke to me about having to remove my whole large intestine if cancer had moved into the surrounding tissue and all that. And it again sunk me back into that survival mode and it wasn't like I'm so mad about this. It was like, all right, this is not okay. What am I doing wrong in my life? Am I eating something wrong? Am I not taking, what am I doing? How am I going to get out of this? And it just and that's obviously my mindset and that's where, I'm sure like the work you do is based on that, right? Just that mindset of like how do I get out of this? But I think it kind of stems that desire to get out of it stems from having experienced bliss. And so I think for people that have never experienced it, it's hard to even fathom getting out of their hole. It's like, for what? Life's always been shitty.
Right.
And now it's just shittier.
Right, right. No, I agree with you completely, and I've met so many people, like, they even told me, they're like, "You're not gonna take your first steps for, like, a year, 2 years, like, if you take them at all."
You're like, challenge
And
accepted.
yeah, like, and my husband this was on my 6-week post at the hospital. We go in, and the doctor's got all these charts up and ready to tell me, and my husband's like, "My wife's walking." And the doctor's like, "No, she's not." And my husband's like, "My wife is walking." Now I was walking like 35 steps in a day, but I'd gotten up. It was 56 days I took my first step after I was paralyzed, and they told me it would be at least a minimum of a year and a half. So the doctor's like, I got nothing to tell you. Like, I can't even believe that I can't believe that." And I've met so many people that had GBS that have sat in their wheelchair for their entire life because they were told they're never gonna walk again. They were told. They didn't challenge themselves. They didn't have the mindset to move mountains.
Mhm.
They just were told. So they surrendered to the diagnosis. And that's where what I do now is totally about mindset, totally about reinvention. And as you go through different things in life, they're still shitty, they still suck, but your resilience and your ability to rebound takes is shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter because it just becomes this building block. So yeah, GBS was I'm like, "Okay, God, I get it. I don't need any more mountains to move. Please, I'm gonna be 55 this year. Can we just not give me any more?" But I know that if something happened to me, I've got the tools. I've got the experience. I know how to do this. And
Mhm.
just like what you're facing, okay, this isn't good, but we're gonna face it. We're gonna address it because your body responds to all the stuff that you think about.
Yeah, and that's what I told my husband. My husband actually, I think, was more down than I was, and he even
Mhm.
said he was telling people, he's like, "I can't believe how positive she's being." I was like, "Look, like, here's the reality, and I get it, but there's a solution, like, and I feel super confident in the solution." So I felt okay about it. Did I wanna remove my large intestine? No. I wasn't looking forward to doing that process, but it was like, there is a solution, and I am
Right.
gonna live through it. And I do recognize life might be hard for a period, but I also recognize, like, it will be a blip in time and it's okay, and here we are. Luckily, things are okay with that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's all about, like you said, just having that resiliency and bouncing back from it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And sometimes, I think I've had to tell people because they just can't buy into it that things can be better. I'm like, you know what? Just lie to yourself. Just try it. Just lie to yourself. Like, and I hate to say that, but for some people that are so stuck, I just feel like they have to start somewhere and start convincing yourself, even if it feels like a lie at first. And I mean, I feel like I went through that when I did cognitive behavioral therapy. And I don't know if you're familiar with that type of therapy, but basically the therapist comes at you with these self beliefs that you have that are not good, and you have to squash them. And of course, when you're trying to squash them, you're like, yeah, but I don't believe this. But the more you do it, eventually this light switch goes on where you're like, hmm, maybe there's some truth in this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I totally relate to everything that you're saying, probably why we ended up connecting the way we did, because I think we have the power to choose every day,
Hmm.
no matter what it is. Whether it's we wanna get up out of bed every day, my legs are just it's like a surprise. I kinda look at it now like, "Are we gonna work today, guys? Yes. Are we not? Okay." Because I
Yeah.
mean, even my hands, some days my hands work, some days they don't. I have 70%, like, nerve damage in my entire body from GBS. So, I mean, but I have a blessed life. I've learned how to drive my car with the parts of my feet that work. If I can't do texting that day, I use audio messages. There's a workaround for everything.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But you have to make a conscious decision every day to
Hmm.
choose that you wanna be happy, you wanna look at it positively, you wanna take this challenge on. Because if not, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna wither away. But you just gotta be cautious of who you wanna take with you on that. Because I won't even step into a room where somebody's being negative like that.
Hmm.
That's a you thing, that's not a me thing. That's not what I'm not gonna do that. If you wanna sit over there, please sit in the corner and take up the least amount of space so that you're not affecting the rest of the area that I'm trying to shine in. Thank you very much.
Yeah, been there. Yeah, I have to say it gently sometimes too to people, like, I can't allow that energy in my world.
Nope.
Here's what I can tell you to try to help you. Take it, do what you want with it, but, like, I can't engage in this anymore. It's not healthy for me, and what you're saying is, like, you just have to become this master at pivoting,
Yes.
and I always say the solution to success is just being solutions oriented. If there's a problem, what's the solution? There is always a solution, no matter what. If you're still living and breathing, there is a solution.
There's
But
hope. Yeah.
there's always a solution. But the key is that the solution might not be what you want, but it is what you need. It
Mhm.
is.
I agree completely.
That's that divine piece that I believe in. Jennifer, to wrap this up, do you have any key things that you like to leave people with as far as, like I'm stuck. But I'm positive here that I can make some sort of pivot, but I don't know where to begin. What do you tell people how you can start making that shift in your life? Because I think there are a lot of people that they feel a little down, but they are, and which is okay, right? It's a human emotion that we go through when things are hard, and that's okay. But at least have that desire to want more for yourself. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is for people that have a desire and want more out of their life. I bring on these episodes where people are sharing their hardships and how they get more from their life. So what would you tell people how they can gain more in their lives?
Well, it's easy. It's kind of like when you want to lose weight. You say, I want to lose 50 pounds, but you can't look at it as the 50 pounds. You have to look at it as today, I want to lose like a half a pound, or I want to lose a pound, or hey, I want to drink one more glass of water, or hey, I want to do one of those things. Little bite sized pieces. If you made the decision that you want a better life for yourself, start stepping towards that, no matter what it looks like. Make a small step. Tell a friend, call somebody like me, call someone like you, reach out and say, hey, listen, what you're saying resonated. And I just need that. I need that comfort of knowing somebody else believes in me or somebody else is there for me. And I don't have to do this by myself. I have a lot of clients who work with me who borrow my belief in them before they ever get to the point, and then they get to that point where there's like, "Here's your beliefs back, I can carry them myself now." Just whatever decision you wanna make, just make it, and then start moving towards whatever that outcome is. But it doesn't have to be some grandiose gesture. If for today it's just getting out of bed, get out of bed. If for today it's just getting out of pajamas, get out of your pajamas. But you walk forward to whatever it is that you want, and you surround yourself with the people that can help you get there.
It's really about those micro steps, and like you've
Mhm.
mentioned a few times in this episode, we go on social media and it's such a highlight reel, and it's like it's 0 to 60. You don't really see the in between and that messy middle, and that's what's really missing. And so, like you said, nobody went 0 to 60. Nobody did.
Yeah.
Everybody has had these little messy pieces that they didn't share, and they should. We're all guilty, I'm sure, of not sharing like the really, really hard things, but do those little micro steps because they do add up, right? This is a stupid analogy, but like baking a cake, right? Like you don't bake a cake with one ingredient. It
No.
all comes together after you add in every single little piece and step. And that's just how life is too, where it's little micro pieces for sure.
You're absolutely right, agree completely.
Yeah. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you? And do you have books? Do you have
I
what do you
do.
have?
Yes, I have 5 best-selling books that
I
I
thought
have. I
so.
actually have 2 more books that are going out this year and one that is my actual story, my life story next year. So, you can go to jenniferperry.com, Perry with an I, Perri.com. You can find out all about me. I'm very big on Instagram, jenniferperry.official. You can find me there.
She's being, I don't know, it's she over 1,000,000 followers, you're doing great. Yeah, she is very
But let me tell you though, that 1,000,000 followers came through my messy middle.
yeah,
It's easy to see the highlight reels and people are like posting hundreds and hundreds. Man, you start talking about your messy ugly that people can relate to, you're gonna grab a lot of people that are gonna follow you because you're real.
mhm,
So, yeah, my messy middle got me that many people.
yeah, that the diaper, the no bra, the
Yeah.
hospital gal.
"Oh, Grandma, check this out," you know? And it's so funny because I even had a brand partnership reach out to me shortly after I got out of the hospital because I talked about I didn't have any makeup on, I didn't have any makeup on, and they're like, "Would you like to be one of our makeup representatives?" I'm like, "You saw that I didn't wear any makeup, right?" Like, they're like, "No, no, but this will be really easy for you to use." I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that is funny, okay, so they can follow you on Instagram, where
Yeah.
can they reach out? Can they reach out to you if they want? How do they connect?
Sure,
What's
if
your
you
website?
want you can connect through my website, or you can actually go right out to my calendar, which is talkwithjennifer.com. I have clients all around the world, so no matter where you are listening, I can help you be a part of your life, be there alongside you. You can request a 15-minute, virtual coffee with me or tea or wine, whatever you choose, and, I'm happy just to talk with you and figure out if there's a way that I can support you in your journey or at least be there to encourage you.
I love that, or wine, you're like,
Yeah,
"Where I will meet you where you're at."
yeah, yes.
Are we drinking on a Tuesday night? Alright.
It's funny because sometimes I have clients where I'm drinking coffee because it's morning and they're like they're in, like, happy hour, and they're like, "Well, I'm coming with my wine." And I was
That's
like, "Okay,
funny.
well, you do
Yeah.
you."
No, that is really funny. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's
For
been
having me.
awesome. Yeah, absolutely.